Chris, welcome. Next on our agenda is Chris Barnett, and he's going to give us a perspective of lake living from the township supervisor's lofty position.
No pressure, huh?
No pressure.
What do you guys want to talk about tonight? I lived on the lake for 2 years, and unfortunately I'm not on the lake because the housing values are so high. I can't afford to live there. I'm looking. Anybody know any good deals on the lake? No such thing. That's the problem.
How much money you got?
Not enough. I'm a civil servant. I work for you all. But I just was out working on my boat, and I put my suit back on because I wanted to, portray it. I'm kidding. So I'm open to kind of talking about it. I kind of share a couple updates around the township. I mean, the last couple times I was here, last couple of years we were talking about the SAD and the weed treatment and some other things going on around the lake. So I'm kind of open to hearing what you're interested in, and we've got a lot of road projects happening. It doesn't have a lot to do with the lake, but obviously affects the quality of life here. Short term, really rough. Long term, I think it's going to be really, really great. I'm a big fan of our lakes and our parks. We have, anybody know this? I think I might have asked this question before. How many lakes in our 36 square miles do we have that are larger than 5 acres? Anybody know this trivia answer? Orion Township is 6 by 6. How many lakes larger than 5 acres? 16 is not right. Any other guesses? 42. 42. So we really are, we're living as a vacation. So, and I kind of shared some development updates as well. Are there any specific questions you want me to address about the lake or anything else tonight? Yes?
That island, you still have that walkway from the shore to the island.
Right.
This is the second year it's there.
So we get lots of complaints about the dock from Shady Oaks to Dot Island. And we actually, the township has no jurisdiction over that.
Who does?
DNR. And he has a permit to have that dock. Well, George is shaking his head no, but
It's inherently dangerous. It's not
last time we checked, he had a permit with the DNR. And but we have talked to that gentleman, and he is nearly finished with his construction project and claims the dock's going to come out. So it's difficult when it's in the water because it's not our jurisdiction. So, but we've gotten a lot of complaints about it, especially in the winter with the snowmobilers and stuff, and one person not paying attention. That's extremely dangerous. So, somebody else had their hand up. Yeah.
Is there a noise ordinance or restrictions on any place in Lake Orion that's licensed to lake at 11 o'clock at night?
Yes. So remember that there's how many of you live in the village? Okay, and how about the township? It's about 1/3 township, 2/3 village. So we do have a noise ordinance. We do have one lake deputy that you guys all probably know, Bill Hughes. Bill will be back this year, which I think is good news. I think he did a good job. And we do cite people for noise ordinance violations fairly regular. Typically the way it works is our deputies like to give warnings first, especially for people that live there. And if they're respectful and they comply, then they typically that's all where it ends. But they definitely write their fair share amount of tickets. You can call, the best number to call when you have those issues, if you don't already know it, is 858-4911, 248-858-4911. That's the non-emergency dispatch line. Still goes to the same dispatch center.
Chris, what's that number again?
248-858-4911. So it still goes to the same people that are answering the 911 calls, but you'll wait a minute or two if they're dealing with someone with a higher priority issue. But they'll dispatch the deputies, and if Bill's on the lake, they'll dispatch Bill. We've had a lot of complaints about the jet skis over the last couple years. And so what we've tried to do, we've met with them. Actually, we've had them in my office with the deputies, and most of them don't want to be seen as a nuisance, and they're just practicing their what they like to do in their downtime. The one thing that we kind of encourage them to do is to not stay in the same spot and do flips over and over and over and over. Even if it's in the middle of the day, it gets obnoxious if they can try to share the love with the rest of the lake. But, you know, look, we live on an all-sports lake. You all do. And it's, you know, it's a big draw to people that not only want to live here, but also want to ride jet ski. So the goal, obviously, is if we can all live happily together. And when we can't, you call us and we send our deputies out, and they will first be nice, and second, then they'll, you know. One thing that's interesting to know about just on the lake patrol is that I saw Bill just the other night, and he's local. He does this on his off time. He has a day job. He's a reserve deputy. How many of you know Bill Hughes? This will be his third summer out there. He's a really nice guy. Stop and say hi to him. Give him a bottle of water. He's a really nice guy. He works, I think, for Chrysler, and then spends most of his off time in the summer on our lake. And he has more contacts with boats. We're the second in the county behind Cass Lake. So he is talking to lots of people. Generally, the rule of thumb is kind of the same. If you're nice and you're not a jerk and you're not highly intoxicated, you're going to get a warning. If you're a jerk, or if you're not from our lake, frankly, you kind of look at it, if somebody's dropped in and they're breaking a bunch of rules, they're going to get a ticket. And a lot of them will get towed back to public access. So Bill Hughes, you can write his name down, say hi to him. He's a really nice guy. His boat's going to be parked the same place it was last year, kind of across from Victoria Island, the no wake zone there. Yeah, somebody over here had some questions. Yeah.
What is going on with the water safety, the fire hydrants? We have so many
Right.
that are non-functional.
You do. So.
I mean, how many years are we gonna go with this? I mean, a fire, they seem to, every time you see a fire, it's total.
So we have a brand new fire chief. Our fire chief, Bob Smith, just retired in August. We hired a gentleman from Sterling Heights, and he was the assistant chief at Sterling Heights. He's very capable. He's already making big changes for our fire department, but they can't control the fact that the hydrants don't have ample water pressure. So the village is in the process of increasing your rates and bonding for a 3-year project, which they might squeeze into 2 years or maybe even 1 year. They're going to start that project this year. The unfortunate news, and that's a village project, so I don't know all the details, but I know it came in. I think phase 1 was estimated around $4 million, and it came in. The low bid was at $5 million, so it's about $1 million over the engineer's estimate. But they're supposed to be starting that project this year, and the first section that's going to be done is Bellevue and Victoria Island, and then the water main actually goes under the water to Victoria, and then under the water to Central in those streets. So that's what they're supposed to be starting this summer. I don't have all the specifics because it's a village project, but that's kind of the generality. They're supposed to start it this year. And we do have, just so you know, we have mutual aid agreements with all the fire departments around us. So if it's set up in the system, if there's a structure fire, or even somebody thinks there's a structure fire, it automatically in this Oakland County dispatch system will initiate the mutual aid. So we'll have tankers come from Oxford and Brandon and Addison and Auburn Hills. So we can put out fires without water. We have a decent part of the township that still is on well water or not having ample pressure, but it's certainly not ideal. So hopefully this summer they'll get a big chunk of that done, but it's been a frustration for us for sure. So yeah.
I have a question. I'd like to go back to noise complaint. If you file a noise complaint, can the person under freedom of information find out who did it? Because I don't live on a lake, but it comes out there was a party lasted till 5 in the morning. I don't know why the neighbors didn't shoot those people, you know. And then another time, fireworks display about 3 in the morning in the middle of the week.
Right. So what you can say is, you can ask when you call in, you can say that you want to file an anonymous complaint to that dispatch number, and they'll they'll ask you your information, but if you say you want to remain anonymous, they will respect that. So I don't give everybody my cell phone because one of your neighbors was complaining last weekend about a party. He was texting me at literally 1 a.m. I said, call the dispatch number, and then at 2:45 he texted me again. They're still out there. So, but if you ask to remain anonymous, you can. Some people actually want their name in the report. So you can say you would like to remain anonymous, file an anonymous complaint. Anytime you call, they're going to come out. So whether it's on the lake or on somebody's having a bonfire out in their backyard, they're going to come out. So it's obviously easier after hours when it's on dry land. But they've cited a couple boats last year that they got the MC numbers from the shore, and they cited them when Bill Hughes wasn't on the lake.
On the same vein, I have a cottage on Victoria Island, and the strait there is about 150 feet wide. I had one guy blow through where it ripped the cleat out of the dock. There's a weight bolt. If I got a video of him, is that valid as far as a complaint?
If they have like undisputable evidence and they can clearly see the MC numbers, they will do something about it. If you say, I think it's this guy over here, or it was this guy, and they can't clearly see that, they probably will go talk to them, but they probably won't cite them. But if they can, they regularly do that. Not encouraging you all to start taking pictures of all your neighbors and stuff, but the good thing is Lieutenant Toth, who's our substation commander, who's kind of like our police chief, he's the top cop in Orion for the sheriff's office. Before he was the lieutenant here, he was in charge of all the Marine Division for Fulton County. So it's nice because he's got a little more experience with dealing with these complaints and stuff. So, yes.
I appreciate what one person's trying to do, because he's pretty much by himself. Nobody is ever sitting down. But there's so much like early in the morning, it's the same thing. I mean, at 7 o'clock, or when it's 10 o'clock, you can't find it. You have a seat number, they're just going by 60 miles an hour when they're not supposed to be doing that, or whatever. So the noise is. They say he's not out there, 10 o'clock.
So I've been in this position for my 6th year, and for 3 years in a row, there were some people on the board and some people in the community that didn't think that we should spend police dollars to police the lake. I didn't agree with that, but we have spent the same amount of money, which gives us a certain number of hours with Bill Hughes. We don't do any policing on Lake Voorhees, which is all sports. We don't do any policing on Long Lake, which is all sports. Tommy's Lake, Elkhorn Lake, only Lake Orion that we pay for. So Lake Voorhees, for example, they have an SAD for lake patrol because they want to. Actually, it's not a traditional SAD. They basically have an agreement. There's like 7 different associations around Keatington, and they all chip in some of their dues. We have what we call a mini contract with them, so they can get some lake patrol. So there's always an option if people wanted more police presence, but we are trying to keep deputies on the road. We just this year we're back to the same level of deputies we had in 2009. We had to lay off because we took almost a 40% reduction when the recession hit. So we had to lay off people in every department, including police. So in calls for service, we're the 14th safest community in the entire state of 1,700 places, 1,700 cities and villages and townships. It's pretty awesome. So it's a safe community, but they respond to about 400 calls a week. So it's hard because the police budget doesn't have a bunch of money in it that we just are not spending. So people don't necessarily think that we should take a bunch of money and put it on the lake because we don't all live on the lake. So that's kind of the back and forth we deal with a little bit. So yeah.
So Chris, I don't know if this is for you to answer, but maybe you can shed some light on the process. So there's just been a great expansion in marinas, and we got to the point with public access, right? We managed how many boats were able to drop in. There was always to be about buoys, drop boats, and now there's all these marinas popping up. What's the process? Is it approved by it? Does the lake association have
sort of like the dock to Dot Island. We don't, the township doesn't have, we don't permit that, nor can we stop it. They get permits through the DNR. Allegedly, there's supposed to be some public input. I have yet to understand how the DNR does their
I'm
public
curious,
input.
I mean, because there seemed to be public input in the past, but now they're just popping up everywhere. You know, anywhere there's a little shoreline, like those, so.
So, not related to this, but when I first took office in November of 2012, literally the second week I was in the office, we started working on a land transaction with the state in 2012. It's 2018 and we're supposed to close in the next week. So it's you know, not to really necessarily talk bad about the state and some of these departments, but I will. It's just, we have called, because I've called on the dock to Dot Island personally several times, talked to 18 different people, and they say there's a permit, we've seen it before, it's been renewed, we have no say, people are ticked. It's just like this. It's really difficult to deal with them.
But
So,
in the village, I don't know, generally, I mean, who owns that marina by the dam? Is it village owned? And it's privately owned?
it's privately owned by the owner of the building, that brick building where the architect.
So we think there is no process really that we had to go.
They had
through?
no, they pulled a permit.
They did pull-
They got a permit through the DNR. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Speaking of SADs,
Yeah.
how much longer do we have our SAD?
Actually, I don't know.
5 years.
5 years.
Okay, so what happens after that?
Sorry,
What happens after that?
start all over.
You would, it's easier to renew than to, we just we've renewed a couple this year for, one was for lake quality, and one was for, dirt road where they do chloride. So it's easier to renew, but it's a similar process. There's a public hearing. Generally, when they renew, people have been paying it and they hopefully have seen the benefit. And so typically, unless, and you guys get to decide the contractor, not the township. So unless there's some majorly egregious, people are ticked because the work's not getting done, I don't think there's been one in 6 years since I've been here that hasn't been renewed. So you would all get a letter again, and it would explain the process, and we would decide the number of years again, and then there'd be a public hearing, and I'm certain some people will probably come show up and be opposed to it, that's normal. But the onus is on them at that point to get 25% of the people in the district that are opposed to it, and they only have, I think, 45 days to do that, signatures. They can stop it, but it's very rare on a renewal. Once you get it started, they generally continue to roll. Yeah.
Is there a height restriction on buildings in downtown Orion?
I'm the township supervisor, so. We get a lot of those questions about the new building there. There was, I know they amended their ordinance or gave a variance for that building. Because I watched that meeting actually. Yeah.
You may not be able to deal with this, but I'll start with you. There's a new type of boat on Lake Orion that started last year, and it's a boat that kicks a wave up that they can surf behind. And this boat generates a huge wave that comes in and hits the shoreline. And at the beginning of one wave, it's not bad, but over and over and over, it's starting to do destruction to the shoreline, the seawalls. And is there any restriction on this thing, or is that?
No. That's a good question.
That thing is
There's,
eating us up.
I bet you there's 4 dozen of those boats on the lake. So, and I don't know if you know, I mean, the interesting thing is, some of you know the people out there that are doing this, but the one guy is ranked in the world as one of the top researchers in the world. He's a national champion, and he owns a chiropractor business. I mean, it's not like you just have these necessarily all young and crazy kids out there. These people, this is how they like to do recreation. But we get those complaints too, that their wake is wrecking the seawalls and making people's docks move. And I don't. The hard thing about water is we can police it, but we don't own the lake bottom. It's difficult. There's lots of. It's not simple like speeding on a road. Yeah.
Chris, I think one of the factors that confuses and frustrates a lot of people on the lake is, what is a no-wake buoy supposed to be out there? It's supposed to identify a low lake area, but enforcement of that is really kind of really undefined for people. Some people fly right up to the buoy and then coast through with the lake behind them. Others totally ignore the buoy because they're on a pontoon boat and they don't think they have a buoy. And so there's a lot of confusion. When you talk to Bill, even he has to put his own definition out there. Now, we got a boater safety class coming up this weekend at the boat club, we're co-sponsoring with the boat club, and I'm gonna ask that we actually try and give a clear definition of what it is, so that Bill can do his job in a uniform manner. Because we are really frustrated with it. You go to the time, trouble, and expense, putting the buoys out there, and it seems like, you know, that there's really no enforcement or observance on it.
I mean, that's a good discussion we need to have with Bill Hughes and with Lieutenant Toth. I took motor safety, and they basically described it, what I remember, is just you're not supposed to make weight there. So, you know, I don't disagree with you. I don't know how we get the message out, though. I mean, the one thing you can do, and I noticed it today because I was out for a little bit before I came here, was that some of the no-weight buoys seem to be moved further away from the shore, which I think is a good strategy. So hopefully the people that are speeding up to it are actually, by the time they are, you know, where the old no-weight zones are. I don't know, but it's difficult. But Bill is, I've ridden with him a couple times, and I mean, if he sees it again, it's one boat on a big lake, but he is not afraid to talk to everybody and cite them if necessary. So I was with him, and the day I was with him, he pulled two people, stopped them for what he thought was making weight and no weight. So one was a pontoon and didn't even slow down, the other was a boat that they just did sped up, you know, just throttled off right at home.
So
And both those people got warnings because they were not jerks. They lived on the lake. They had the proper stuff, and he said, just so you know, you got it. And so I think that's what he would say. They're not looking to generate revenue and be happy, but they want compliance. So people are. That's a tip and trick for all of you. If you see the siren or if you see the lights, say hi, Bill. Here's my stuff, and be kind. And he's happy to let everybody have fun on the lake. Because they'll be the first ones to say, I am not an advocate personally that they should be writing a bunch of tickets unless you are completely out of control or a jerk. Because we all live in Michigan and we have about 100 days we can enjoy the lake. And, you know, you want to be able to have fun and enjoy it in a safe way. So people that are dangerous will always get cited. But if you're just out there and he wants to talk to you, and you might not have the right number of life jackets, and more than likely if you're kind and you're not being out of control, he's probably going to just give you a nice reminder. So, all right, what else? Anything else on the lake stuff?
That's something I'm not a.
Yeah, well, hold on. One more. You got one more question?
Probably more of a LOLA thing, but I mean, I just think, everyone keeps saying safety. It isn't safe to swim and it isn't safe to kayak when those boats are, you can't see them. They're looking at their people that they're, you know, waiting. They're on those surfings, and I appreciate that, you know, they have every right, but it isn't safe. I mean, it truly isn't. We're cutting it off. I don't think it is.
Right.
And
We had that because we put a ball on front of our house to just keep what's outside. We had a guy in water skis cut it inside in about 2.5 feet.
I mean, it's crazy.
That's
I
not
mean,
good.
you can take pictures. Again, if you can get pictures, they'll get phone calls or knocks on their doors.
Who has a camera when the boat's going?
I understand. We do get, at least we have some, I mean, again, I just want to, you know, Lake Borey, you know, Long Lake has zero patrol, you know, Tom is like has zero, so at least we have some. The other issue you just kind of mentioned that I've been getting calls about this year are because Dunham, they've sold, we checked the stats on this, kayak sales have like tripled every year for the last 3 or 4 years. Kayak sales are, you know, before you see a few kayaks, now everybody has kayaks.
Oh, my gosh.
I have 3.
Yeah.
And so the kayakers are saying, hey, it's our lake too, we want to be able to paddle and, you know, what's the right thing. So we're talking about trying to put some education out there for the kayakers and, you know, so they're not, you know, just cutting right across the middle of the lake, and things like that. So it's, everybody wants to get in that lake for those 100 days that are decent. They don't teach it anymore, apparently. But, yeah, not like
I
question.
have a question on something that's in the news now, I just want to hear too. The SEPTA versus the RTA, what's your opinion on that? I mean, I know, Brooks Veterans came out, Tampa came out against the RTA.
Yeah.
What is, Orion Township?
Regional Transit Authority, RTA, and they're asking for a 1.5 mil 10-year tax. So just so you guys know, and ladies, the average house, the average taxable value of the home, the average home in Orion Township is exactly $100,000, $300. Your houses are a lot more than that. But just for averages, the average, so for every $100,000 taxable value, so if your house is worth $200,000, the taxable value is $100. 1 mil is $100 a year. So, you know, if your house is $500,000, let's say $600 to keep it easy, taxable value is $300. That tax would cost you $450 a year, the RTA, okay? Regional Transit Authorities to try to get, it's for Southeast Michigan, to try to get rail from Metro Airport to downtown Detroit and do some other things. So I'm totally opposed to it. Actually went 2 weeks ago and testified in Lansing in front of the committee to ask for them to allow communities to opt out so that we don't pay, because it would generate about, rough numbers, generates about $2 million a year in Orion Township, and there is no services available to residents of Orion Township. So we're paying about $2 million a year to help Detroit and Ann Arbor and these other groups. So I'm opposed to it, so is our county executive. And if he doesn't get on board and Mark Hackle doesn't, if they don't have, it won't even be on the ballot. But if it is on the ballot, we're working on legislation. Jim Tedder is actually sponsoring it, who's state rep in Independence, who's running to be a senator in Jim Marlowe's seat. He sponsored a bill that would allow communities to opt out. So, hey, go ahead if you guys want to collect that tax in Wayne County and all in Washtenaw, but in Northern Oakland County where the services aren't available, you'd have to drive to Pontiac to be able to use the system. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So we'll see, but I don't think it's going to be on the ballot this year because there's just too much opposition from Al Brooks and Mark Kaplan. So it's truly, like my whole take on it was it's a tax. It's not, you're taxing people that don't benefit from the services. That's not a fair tax. So stay tuned. It's not good for us. I mean, I'm not telling you what to decide. I mean, some people take a regional view and say, hey, that's good. I'm willing to chip in some money so that we can make our whole region better. And then maybe Amazon comes here. That's their argument. We lost Amazon because we didn't have rail. So I'm against it.
We're gonna need more rail.
We used to have all this rail. They took it all out.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing I said is this is cool. At the Orion plant, they're making the Cruise, the 4th generation Chevy Cruise. Literally, I was there last week and I'm watching them come off the line. If you look at if you drive down that really horrible road, Silverbell Road, you see all the cars in the lot that are covered. Drive by and look, there's a bunch of cars covered with white tarps almost. Those cars have no steering wheel, no gas pedal, no brake. And they're making them as we speak right now in that plant. It's pretty awesome. Does anybody work in that plant or supply that? Seen those? It's cool. So my other point was why we're going to invest billions of dollars into rail if we have these self-driving cars that they're going to be on the road next year, 2019. Now, not nationwide, but we're just a couple years away. Crazy thing is to think about, your grandkids, your kids may never even have a driver's license.
Yeah.
If the kids that are being born today might never even have a driver's license. That's weird to think about. But
Wow.
that's being built right here in Orion Township. So. Yeah.
You had mentioned something earlier about some projects down the line, and this has nothing to do with the lake exactly, but this is around the lake. Some of our roads are in very need
Right.
of resurfacing. Is this coming?
Central Drive, potentially. Who lives off Central? So you know about were you at the meeting?
Yes.
So here's the thing on roads. If you ask the legislature, they say they're doing an amazing job, and they just gave us an extra $270 million last year. that we get a little bit of patchwork with that, honestly. So most of the roads around the lake are considered sub-local roads. They're not federal aid eligible. Baldwin Road's federal aid eligible, so it's about, when it's done, it's gonna be about a $50 million project. 80% of those monies are from the federal government. But the sub-local roads, we can't get any money for, we don't get any federal dollars for those. So it has to be local. And I sit on the federal aid committee committee for Oakland County. I represent large townships. There's 15 people on the board. So we fight over, and some of you have heard this spiel before, but as a township, we get $0 for roads. We don't get 1 penny. The money goes to the road commission. And we divvy up this money over the 63 communities that make up Oakland County. And we just had a meeting in March, and we were fighting, but you know, you have 63 entities represented around a huge table. They all want projects done in their community. And we had about $17 million to divvy up for 2020, because that's where we're working a couple years ahead. And just so you know, to pave about a mile road is about $1.5 million bucks. So we're never going to get any money with the current funding model for roads around the lake. The only way they get done is by SAD. So residents pay, just like you pay for your weed treatment. That's the only way those roads get done. The township, we don't get any money for it. We've considered like putting a little bit of our general fund taxes in a pool that would say, hey, if you do an SAD, the township will match, do 10% or a 20% contribution to try to incentivize neighborhoods to organize to do this. But really, it's got to be done by the.
So there's no hope for Heights.
We've been fighting for
Heights is
6 years.
worse than Solar.
I understand. I know. It's not worse than Central. That's true. No, there really isn't, because it's a sub-local road. In the current model, now we got a bunch of people running for election right now. That's the first question I ask them about is infrastructure priority. They could change. You know, they could change with the new group, and I don't know. But the way it is now, it's we're lucky to get like this Clarkson Road done. That was partly because the chair of the board, or the road commission, lives in Orion, Eric Wilson. I'm not being serious. Yeah, George.
I was gonna say, if I was gonna fix one of the roads in town, but without any Clarkson, the pine tree will break your teeth on.
Pine Tree's gonna get done. Pine Tree's getting done this
Oh, it
year.
is, okay.
So that's a tri-party. So every year we get like $100,000, $112,000 this year that we contribute from our general fund. And then the county, it's called a tri-party project, so then they chip in $112,000, and then the road commission chips in. So we get to pick a project every year, basically. So this year, and we have a scoring system, and generally a lot of it has to do with traffic count, but this year the project is Pine Tree Road. So Pine Tree will get resurfaced this year. Last year we did Clarkson Road from Kmart to just past Christie's, basically. That's how much money, that's how far the money goes. It's crazy, so. You know, the other thing is we're working on a lot of trail projects. We've gotten over $900,000 in grants, which I'm really proud of. I spent a lot of time chasing grants. So the trail that's out here on Clarkson Road, the boardwalk, most of that was through grants. And that gets people this year, now you can get into Camp Agawam across the street, which is a township park. Not many people know that. It's beautiful. Go check it out. There's a nice beach there, really nice, probably nicer than Greens Park. It's very good sand and very nice. And then this year we're going to go from where it stops at Camp Agawam to the Pollyant Trail. So you'll be able to get all the way to the Pollyant Trail, and then obviously we go lots of places. And then we're just in the process of applying for a grant to go from Clarkson, from East Clarkson, basically, Hollywood, Kmart Plaza to the Paint Creek Trail. And that's the biggest TAP Transportation Alternatives Program. It's the biggest TAP grant application in state history. So we're pushing the envelope a little bit, but it's like a $2 million project, and it would be really cool to connect those two regional trails, Paint Creek and Pollyant. So that's some of the fun stuff that I'm working on. So, anything else? Any other questions?
Any special plans for Camp Agawam, expansion, or new building?
So it's a good question. So our general fund millage is 0.98 mils, so we run the parks and everything out of 0.98 mils. So to think about it, that's what, when we went to Lansing, I'm like, you're asking for 1.5 times for transportation what we run our township on, and we're not even gonna be able to benefit. So, well, we've kind of gotten to a interesting situation because we have all these parks, but yet we have a lot of development. People, I get calls all the time, you guys are building on every square inch, you're cutting down every tree, and this is where we grew up. And that's the difficult part of my job, because where they're building is not township or state property, it's private property that people have the right to develop, right? So we are constantly fighting it. So, but we did purchase Camp Agawam. We got it for $1 million from the Boy Scouts. It's 140 acres on a lake. They could have sold it for $3 million the same time we negotiated $1 million sale. So we're really happy we saved that. We also just got 76 acres across the street from Canterbury. The state was looking to sell in this land swap deal that I said we've been working on for 6 years. And so we're trying to maintain green space, but a third of our budget goes to parks and rec. So we're actually proposing this August a parks and rec millage. Because we're gonna have to make some tough decisions if we don't get the fund, if we have to find revenue to operate the parks and the recreation. So there'll be more information to come on that. Our fire capital millage is expiring. It's 0.6 mils. So that renovated our fire stations. If you go to the village now, that's the last of our 4 stations is being renovated. The reason we did that is we were 100% a part-time fire department until 3 years ago. Meaning if you called 911, people had to come, vans would have to leave here, drive to the station, get an apparatus, and then drive. So obviously it adds 5 or 6 minutes to the response. And the stations weren't built for people to sleep in. We didn't have female quarters. We have 2 full-time female firefighters now. So it's 2018. So we had to renovate the stations and get some upgraded equipment. So we did that. So that millage is expiring. So the kind of good news is you're losing one, but we're asking for another to supplement the parks. There'll be more information to come on that. It'll be up to you guys to decide if that's something we want to support. If we're not successful, we'll have to make some really tough decisions, like potentially selling Camp Agawam. Just like you would do in your own homes. If you're spending more than you're making, you gotta have a garage sale or downsize or do something. And so we'll have to make those decisions. But we've been able to balance the budget for 4 years in a row, which after we were not balanced for 5 years through the recession. And our revenue is still about 20% less than it was in 2008. If you've lived in your house since before 2008 and you still have your tax bills, look at your tax bill from then and look at it now. You're paying less still. What happens is Proposal A is really good for people, for residents. When the market drops, it drops like a balloon. Your taxable value does with it. But it can only increase at 5% or the rate of inflation, whichever is lower. So the rate of inflation has been between 1% and 2%. So you drop 30 to 40, and some people 50% in their taxable values, and you can only go up 1 or 2% every year. So think about that. It takes a long time to get that revenue back. So that's good news if you're a taxpayer. But it's not fun to talk about tax increases and millages, but it's part of what we have to do. We have to, be up front. And if you live in the township, and I'm talking to the village people, we really have some of the lowest taxes in the whole county. The village is 10 mils in addition to what you pay in the township. I'm not trying to get anybody riled up. But last time I was in a meeting with people from the village, I'm like, you have really low taxes. And I about got booed out because I forgot to be nice. I just focus on the township side of things. So, any other questions or anything? Go ahead. Pat.
You mentioned how bad Silver Bell is. Is that a sub-local road also?
No, that's called a primary paved road. It's federal aid eligible. The problem is we got all those communities fighting over 17 million, which goes about 10 miles maybe total. So there are other avenues. Like one of the things I really spend a lot of time on is seeking other revenue sources through grants. There's actually called a TEDF, Transportation and Economic Development Fund grant, that for every job that's either saved or created, you can get $5,000 per job. So we're working with GM to see if we can apply for that grant. for the jobs that have been saved because they have kept the plant open and they are putting another 100 million in, to see if we can pave that road around there. So there are other buckets of money sometimes we can get to, but you have to just get creative. So we're working on that. That's a terrible road.
You get GM to contribute to the road because it's their trucks and.
I know. You know, what they say is that we're really lucky that they're here.
Well,
True story. I mean, we gave a ton of concessions, the township, the state, and the county and the state, back, in 2009, when they were going to shutter the plant and move to Indiana. And so they have a really good deal going. So they basically say we should be paving it and be thanking them for being here. I mean, they're not rude, but they're big, so they can kind of give one more thing.
Just one more thing. For a while there was a Orion Township burners.
We sold it.
Oh, and you sold it.
Yeah. So yeah, we, a couple boards ago, bought that property. They used it for the parking for the senior open. And then, this current board sold it. Because we already have, we have a lot of parks, so that one didn't make a lot of sense. There's no sidewalks. They were trying to get sidewalks all the way to 24. So we did sell that. So somebody that probably some of you guys know bought it. It's done. Everything we do is listed and it's all done in open meetings. But yeah, somebody that lived on the lake actually bought that lot. We did get an easement though for parking and a trail. If we ever do get that trail to go through, so we actually do have an easement in front of that property to have like a trailhead if we're ever able to. The difficult thing about getting that sidewalk to go to 24 is between Indian Lake and Lake Orion, you have to build a bridge, you have to buy probably 2 houses because those 2 houses on either side of the bridge are like 6 feet off the road. So it's like $1 million to just get that section done. And we don't have that kind of money. So I don't want to take too much more time, but I'm in the White Brick Building and I'm there every day. If you stop in, call, I'll see you. I do have my boat, so you'll still see me out there on the lake. Yeah.
You are having your coffee with Chris?
Tomorrow. But no, Friday. Yeah, so once a month I do this, whatever day that is, the 3rd Friday or the 4th Friday. At the community center, the Orion Center, I just do like an open discussion. Some of you have been there. Just kind of share updates, answer questions like this. So, but you don't have to come visit anytime,
What time is that? What time
I
do you
think
meet?
it's at 9.
9.
Double check. Give you the proper information here. It is 9:30. Yep, 9:30 to 11 at the community center. So, all right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Chris.
Yep.